Hi friends, my name is Millie and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to bring you my January TBR. So obviously we're starting off in the new year in January and I'm really excited for all of the reading I'm going to do in 2025, and I'm hoping that January will be a good reading month for me, kick the year off right, read some good books. So I've picked ones I think I'm going to really enjoy, which obviously I do for every TBR, but these ones are hopefuls that I will absolutely love them. So we're starting off with a book that I've been reliably told by one of my friends, Naya, that I will enjoy, and that is The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. So Naya read this in November, I think, and really enjoyed it. So she said that I would also really love it, so hopefully I will. I do trust Naya's recommendations with my life, so we will see. This is a cozy fantasy set sort of in the vein of like Legends and Lattes, Teller of Small Fortunes, TJ Klune, those kinds of ones. And what I'm loving about the idea of this book is that there is a sentient houseplant. Say no more. I just want to read it for that. Every home needs a little magic. Spells are sacred. Kiela knows this, and that's why she's surrounded herself with precious spellbooks at the Great Library of Elysium, protecting magic for the Empire with her trusted assistant and sentient spider plant, Kaz. When her beloved library goes up in flames, she realises that a revolution is brewing, and she's forced to flee to the faraway island where she grew up. Except it's not quite as she left it. Finding that the Empire has used the library's knowledge to steal magic from the island, Keela is determined to make things right. With the help of a nosy and very handsome neighbour, she opens up a secret spell shop. Rebellion comes with risks, but sometimes starting over works like a charm. So this actually came out in July of last year and I had the ARC and didn't get around to reading it. Story of my life. So hopefully I will get around to reading this in January and I can finally post a review of it and deeply apologise to the publisher for not having read this sooner. But I'm really hopeful I'll enjoy this. I think it just sounds really cute and cosy, a little bit whimsical, perfect for like cold winter's nights, I feel. The next one I've got is a sequel that I really need to read before the final book in the series comes out. That is Reckless. So this is the sequel to Powerless by Lauren Roberts, and I think I gave Powerless 4 stars and then the novella Powerful 4.5 perhaps. I really enjoyed the novella, and this is the sequel. So Powerless is basically this sort of YA fantasy series following a girl called Payden. In this world, everyone must have a power, but she is powerless, and all the ones without power are exiled, and she has managed to stay in this kingdom by pretending that she is, it's either telepathic or psychic, I can't remember, and she's done it so well that she ends up being chosen for these games run by the king, and she comes across the prince, I think he is. Romance ensues and there is quite a big cliffhanger at the end of Powerless, and I feel like this one is kind of a little bit Marmite-esque. I feel that that's what I've seen anyway. Like, some people either love it more than Powerless or some people don't think it's as good as Powerless, but either way it's really all leading up to, is it Fearless is the last one to come out next year sometime, and I really need to read this before that comes out because I'm so bad at like not having read the second book before the third book comes out and then maybe getting spoiled. So I really don't want that to happen with this one, so hopefully I will get to this one in January. I'm not confident that I'll get to this in January, but maybe I will. This is technically a reread. It is The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. I read this 2-3 years ago now, I believe, and I since have received the first 4 books in the series from the publisher, and the 5th book is coming out sometime next year, but I can't remember when. That one is The Dark Mirror, and I know it's such a highly anticipated release for people. When I first read The Bone Season, I didn't love it. I wasn't as taken with it, but I absolutely love the Roots of Chaos series that Samantha Shannon does, which is The Power of the Orange Tree, A Day of Fallen Night, and so on. And I feel like if I can recommit to this series, I will end up enjoying it as much as everyone else does. I think I just maybe wasn't in the right frame of mind when I first read it, so I do want to reread the first book before I move on to the second book. And this is actually in a sort of revised edition. She has revised the first, I don't know if it was just the Bone season that she did or if it was all the first 4 books, but she's done a revision of the series ahead of the Dark Mirror coming out, so I'm excited to see kind of like the differences in this book as well. This is a futuristic sci-fi, I don't know if it's sci-fi or fantasy. I think it's fantasy. Anyway, the year is 2059. For 2 centuries, the Republic of Sion has led an oppressive campaign against unnaturalness in Europe. In London, Paige Mahoney holds a high rank in the criminal underworld. Paige is a dreamwalker, a rare and formidable kind of clairvoyant. Under Sion law, she commits treason simply by breathing. When Paige is arrested for murder, she meets the mysterious founders of Sion, who have been looking for someone with her uncommon abilities. If she is to survive and escape, Paige must use every skill at her disposal and put her trust in someone who ought to be her enemy. I'm hopeful that I will love this as much as I loved Pride of the Orange Tree the second time around. We'll see if I get to it in January. I would also really like to read 6 Scorched Roses by Carissa Broadbent. This is a novella set between The Serpent and the Wings of Night and The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King in the Crowns of Nyaxia series. I didn't realise that this was set between the 2 books, so I have read those 2 and then would be going backwards with this one. But I don't think it matters too much if you haven't read this one before you read The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. But yeah, this is a little novella. It's very short. It's around 200 pages-ish, if that. And it's basically about, it's like a standalone novella set in the world, but set between the 2 books. So I'm not really too sure, but it's about Lilith, who has been dying since the day she was born, but while she has come to terms with her own imminent death, the death of everyone she loves is an entirely different matter. As her town slowly withers in the clutches of mysterious God-sent illness, she decides to take matters into her own hands. Desperate to find a cure, Lilith strikes a bargain with the only thing the gods hate even more than her village, a vampire. She offers him 6 roses in exchange for 6 vials of vampire blood, the one hope for her town's salvation. But when what began as a simple transaction becomes something more, Lilith is faced with a terrifying realisation. It's dangerous to wander into the clutches of a vampire, and in a place already suffering a god's wrath, more dangerous still to fall in love with one. I really love the Crowns of Nyaxia series. I loved The Serpent and the Wings of Night. I didn't love The Ashes and Star-Cursed King quite as much, but I was addicted to the first book. And I'm really excited to read The Songbird and the Heart of Stone as well, which has just come out. That's like the 3rd book, but technically the first in a new duology. And I'm so excited for that one. So I really want to try and get to this one before I read that one. We then have an arc, which is Our Infinite Fates by Laura Stephen. This is coming out in February, and I really want to get to it before it is officially released, so I really need to get to it in January. This is a YA fantasy inspired by Taylor Swift's song Exile, which is one of my favourite songs of all time, and it's basically about these 2 people who have met in every lifetime, fallen in love, but have killed each other in every lifetime, and I just think that is such an amazing concept. Your main character Evelyn, she can remember all of her past lives, but she can also remember that in every single one she's been murdered before her 18th birthday, and she's determined to not let that happen to the one that she's in now, because she's quite fond of it, but also because her sister needs a bone marrow transplant. So she needs to find the enemy who's been hunting her, find out why she's being hunted, and then figure out how to stop it from happening, and also try not to fall in love with them again. And I just think it's such a cool concept. I know this is such a highly anticipated release for a lot of people, so hopefully I will be able to get to it before it is officially released and I can drum up some more hype for it, perhaps. Another arc that I've got is The Bones Beneath My Skin by TJ Klune. This is also on my 2025 TBR, so my 25 books to read in 2025. So I really want to try and read at least one of those books in January to get off to a good start. Hopefully I'll read more than one, but if I'm gonna choose one, I really want it to be the next TJ Klune book. It's coming out in February and I really want to try and get to it before it is officially released, just like with Our Infinite Fates. So this one is set in 1995 and you're following Nate, who has kind of lost everything. He's lost his job, or his parents are dead, his brothers disowned him, etc. So he goes to the family cabin in Oregon, which he expects to be empty, but it's not. Inside there is a man called Alex and a little girl called Artemis Darth Vader, and Nate and Alex start to sort of bond over art and discover how special she truly is, but there's also people who are hunting her. And I don't know if this is one of TJ Klune's more sci-fi or more fantasy books, but it's just going to be cute and cozy, I feel. Maybe a bit emotional because his books do tend to be, but also with a really funny humour to it. So hopefully I will really enjoy this. I mean, I'm saying hopefully. I know I'm going to enjoy this. I love every TJ Klune book that I've read, but hopefully I will enjoy this one a lot. Maybe it'll be a 5-star read for me, and I will hopefully get to this before it's officially released in February. The final book that I've got for my January TBR is Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. So I read the first Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson in 2024 and I absolutely loved it. It was eye-opening for me, game-changing, life-changing, and I believe that this is the next book that I need to read in the Cosmere reading order. I've had a long hard look at different Cosmere reading orders and I believe that the next one I need to read is Warbreaker. I don't think I can move on to Stormlight Archive without having read Warbreaker, but I'm not really sure on the correct reading order, but I'm going with Warbreaker. This is a standalone book set in the Cosmere, I believe. This is the first time I'm even reading the synopsis. I literally bought Brandon Sanderson's entire backlist pretty much. I think I've only got a few more books to buy without having even read Mistborn, but luckily I absolutely loved the first Mistborn trilogy, so this is the first time I'm even learning what Warbreaker is even about, but I'm excited. I also love this cover. I just think it's very, very pretty. Warbreaker is the story of two sisters who happen to be princesses. The god king one of them has to marry, a lesser god and an immortal trying to undo the mistakes he made hundreds of years ago. Theirs is a world in which those who die in glory return as gods. A world transformed by biochromatic magic, a power based on an essence known as breath, which can only be collected 1 unit at a time from individual people. But it's worth it. By using breath, and drawing upon the colour in everyday objects, all manner of miracles and mischief can be performed. Oh, that sounds like such a cool magic system. So Mistborn had a really cool magic system that was to do with metals, but the fact that this looks like it's to do with colours and breath, that sounds really, really interesting. So I'm very excited to read Warbreaker. I feel like this is one of Brandon Sanderson's shorter books. It's about 600 pages, which is pretty short for him when you consider that the 5th Stormlight Archive book, which has just come out, Wind and Truth, that's double the size of this at least. So I am very, very excited to get to Warbreaker and hopefully I'll love it just as much as Mistborn. So that was my January TBR. I'm hoping obviously to get to more books than just those 7, but those are the 7 that I am really aiming to get to. So we'll see. We'll see whether I manage to. It's tricky. I feel like I do generally tend to kind of read quite a lot in January, however, because it's kind of like that start of a new year kind of boost. So we'll see. So those were all the books that I want to read in January. Please let me know in the comments what books you want to read in January, what's on your January TBR, and I will see you in another video soon. Like this video if you liked it and subscribe if you wanna. If you want to follow me on my Goodreads or my Bookstagram, the links will be down in the description below. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. See you in another video soon. Bye!